Thank you, Madam Speaker, and through you to the members. I stand here in support of the bill that we have before us today, and I'd like to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your leadership and for the commitment that you've shown so many in the Commonwealth to this issue. And the issue of engaging folks through the CSG working group and the bill that we just passed as a House a moment ago, as well as the bill that we have before us as well. You told everyone from the beginning, the CSG report, groundbreaking as it is, because that report is that bill is going to touch upon and set the stage to make sure that our criminal justice system is a system that is focused on the individual and not just on broad-based policies. Mr. Speaker, thank you for your leadership on that. And now we stand and we have before us another bill that was put together by one of the most committed individuals, as all of us are, in this position of chair of the Committee on the Judiciary. The lady from Brockton put her heart and soul into the work of that CSG group and her heart and soul into working to make sure that she listened to each one of you in all of your concerns, in all of your hopes, to make sure that this bill that comes before us has so many of the ideas and so many of the experiences of all of our collective constituencies throughout the Commonwealth. The chairlady from the great city of Brockton not only spent a lot of time with us, but a significant time in her own community and communities throughout the Commonwealth and organizations that are working firsthand to make sure that people have the opportunity to turn their lives around. She's done so with poise, with grace, conviction. In Spanish we say con coraje. And she's done an incredible job in doing so. I'm so proud to have worked with her, with you, Mr. Speaker, our great leader, who is great in terms of making sure that all of us were committed to making sure that we were taking a balanced approach in everything that we do, and make sure that we stood with conviction on the pieces that we knew we were right on. Thank you, Mr. Leader. We also had Chief Justice Ireland, a justice that has devoted his entire life to juvenile justice here in the Commonwealth and beyond. Having him in the room with us to listen to our ideas, provide feedback, and to provide a perspective not only as someone who sat as a Chief Justice, but also a man of color from a community here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It was an incredible time in working on this bill with those mentioned as well as all of you, because all of you engaged us in so many different ways. And while I was in the room engaged in the conversations, I felt like, that showed this, this is your life. Because we talked about so many different things that people go through in their own lives, from the time when you're a child to a teenager to an adult and beyond. And I felt like I see a lot of those people that we talked about, and myself, and also our own childhood friends that have felt an impact of an unjust criminal justice system, an unbalanced criminal justice system. There's a lot of folks who've made a lot of mistakes in their lives, and unfortunately they continue to serve time given the distorted record systems, outdated laws, some mandatory minimums for low-level crimes, and other laws addressed by the bill that we have before us today. I've also learned and seen firsthand that unfortunately, the drugs that are permeating our streets right now, unfortunately, are hand in hand with the gun violence that's happening in our communities. Many who deal certain drugs like heroin, and now these immediate death drugs like fentanyl and carfentanil, also cause a significant amount of violence in our communities and throughout the Commonwealth. And they do so with their deadly product and with their guns. The violence happens every day. Last week, a 16-year-old boy who used to do work with us in our community center, in a housing project in my district, was gunned down in his own community. The day after that, while the mayor of the city was making an investment in a community youth center, shots fired again. And then again the day after that. At the same time, I know that there are people that they're trying to turn their lives around, and that there are people and organizations working to prevent youth violence through intervention and encouraging people to talk to each other. And all of you stood up in our supplemental budget discussions relative to the Safe and Successful Youth Initiative monies. Because it is, aside from making sure that we deal with the laws, we also have to make sure that we have resources out there so that those folks that have the skills and have the commitment and have the heart to work with those folks that are having real problems, that we're able to have them out there and do that hard and difficult work. But these bills, they're all about balance. How do we make sure that we ensure the public safety of the Commonwealth and also help those in the criminal justice system who want to turn their life around? We do this through a number of practical and extremely progressive policies. In CORI reform, we've reduced the waiting time to seal CORI from 10 to 7 years for felonies and 5 to 3 years for misdemeanors. And we allow for people to say that they have no record when they're applying for housing. People leaving prison to face an unemployment rate of 50% higher than the general population as we speak. And studies show that the sooner offenders find employment, the less likely they are to commit future crimes. Being able to seal your CORI is a game changer for so many. It means that the person whose only crime was having a nickel bag in his pocket, or maybe lifting or getting into a fight, or lifting a pair of sneakers in high school, can now apply for a job and say, I have no record. This aligns with our goals of reducing recidivism, which will save the Commonwealth so much in the long run. For the first time ever, as the chair lady mentioned, we create a process for expungement. This gives people the opportunity to erase any record of a crime in certain circumstances. Because there's a lot of examples how people make mistakes when they're young. This bill allows for certain juvenile convictions committed under the age of 18 to be expunged after 10 years. This means that if someone got into a fight when they were 16 and were convicted, that charge is not going to haunt them for the rest of their life. This bill also allows for offenses that are no longer crimes, such as the possession of marijuana. And this is so that within 6 months of the passage of that bill, folks could reclaim their lives. Expungement will help people access jobs, training, and housing. And if they're truly willing to turn their lives around after serving time, they are going to have those opportunities. We also reformed the bail system, requiring judicial officers to take a defendant's financial resources into account when setting bail. And again, we've implemented the recommendations of the Council of State Governments by, again, allowing us to treat people as individuals instead of broad-based policies. Remember, 79% of the criminal justice system have repeat offenders. This bill represents a major investment in helping break the cycle of incarceration. This bill is a monumental effort on behalf of all of us here in this chamber today, and everyone that's out there. All the folks that are in this building right now, folks, we heard you. We hear you. At the same time, victims, we hear you too. I'd also like to particularly thank the House members of the Black and Latino Caucus. And in a state where 20% of our Commonwealth's population is Black and Latino, unfortunately, that demographic, Black and Latinos, comprise 52% of the state's prison population. By working together, we've been able to identify defined areas where this bill is going to improve the lives of so many people in the communities we represent. These are significant pieces of legislation. We have been talking about these for a long time. There's over 17 sections, categories to this bill, not including the CSG bill. The CSG bill also has a significant number as well. Again, Mr. Speaker, thank you. Chairwoman Cronin, thank you for your leadership in showing us the way with the bill that we have before us today. This bill reforms the criminal justice system, again, so if people want to change their lives, they are going to be able to. We can help people back on their feet and break the cycle of incarceration so that people can take advantage of the incredible opportunities that all of us work on a day-to-day basis here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.